Okay, this tutorial is for those of you who still have not turned in your notebook and need a little help making sure that everything's in order. I know we haven't had a lot of time in class, so we're going to do this on video, and that way you can get caught up. So if you've lost your notebook or you're just behind in putting things where they need to be, this is your ticket to getting the points that you need. So notebooks, I know they can be overwhelming at times, but it's always better if you take it step by step and work through what you have. So if you're looking at your table of contents, it may need a little updating if it doesn't look like mine. So what I would recommend is, in order to see this and to get everything written down, that you would actually go ahead and pause the video. So you can pause it here and you can write down your table of contents. I don't have all of the dates here. It's not so much the dates that I'm worried about. If you've got dates on those items, you can put dates, but getting them in the right place. And look, I need to finish this up. 46 and 47. So this notebook check number 5, actually starts with the beginning of chapter 4 and goes through the flame test right here. And anything that happens beyond this is actually going to go into the next check, which will be coming pretty soon. So it's a good idea to get all of this taken care of so that you can get the next one done as well. All right, so turning the page from the table of contents, zoom out a little bit so you can see what we've got. You should be able to recognize the cover page and the target you're reading. So that should be here and here. That's pages 22 and 23. I'll zoom out a little bit more, maybe you can see the page numbers. You can see them down there at the bottom if you look really close. Okay, I'm gonna squeeze in here. Not quite there. All right, there we go. Okay, and then items 3 and 4, the KWL chart, which should be filled out, and the Bill Nye notes on the video that on atoms, and that should be page 24 and 25. Then we had vocab about chapter 4 was the atomic stuff, so atom, electron, matter, neutron, nucleus, proton, and electron cloud, and obviously you need to have the definitions. This is page 26. And then the atomic structure book. So there was some notes taken on the electron, and then the first flap here on the proton and the neutron, and that should be complete, and that would be item numbers 5 and 6, pages 26 and 27. Pages 28 and 29 contain notes on atom to compound, the little book that we opened up. And if at any point you need these notes, you need to catch up, you can just pause, get that filled out. The periodic table, which had some notes that we took on the key, so like noting that atomic number is the number of protons, that isotopes masses are different, so that gives us averages. And we talked about the number of dots for the Lewis structure, the valence electrons being here with 1A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 valence electrons, and that we're just dealing with these periods here. Okay, let me get back in my spot so I can actually show you both pages again. Has to be like just about perfect. Okay, maybe it's this guy right there. Sorry about that. All right. Pages 30 and 31, which is number 9 and 10, is the worksheet on Name the Atom, and then the notes on naming atoms, where you drew the large box in the periodic table and took notes on isotope, Then turning the page for item number 10 and 11, notes on naming, 11 and 12. Worksheet on atomic numbers and mass, that's this one. And then more notes on naming atoms. And that should be, if you're following along with me, pages 32 and 33. And like I've said before, your pages don't have to be numbered perfectly, but keeping things in order is helpful. As long as all the atomic stuff is together, I'm a happy camper. So next up, numbers 13 and 14. You should have this worksheet called the world famous table. Yours might be that weird buff color, not pink, but that should be page 34. Then page 35 was a half sheet that had some questions that needed to be answered from the reading assignment of lesson 3, chapter 4. And the last thing that you have on this check is the flame test lab. And it has the chart and the questions, and those should be completely filled out. And this is page 36. I don't know if you can see it, but it's page 36. Page 37 had notes about atomic theories, the atomic models, and more about electrons. I'll zoom in and try to make sure there's no glare. So if this was something you're missing, you can pause it and take the notes and turn down the contrast a little bit. So hopefully you can pick it up from that. And the reason some of it is highlighted and some of it is not is anything that was highlighted was important and should go in your notes, and the things that weren't were supportive information. But what we were really talking about here were 5 historic figures that really put into building knowledge in terms of society, how we understand what atoms are. So we talked about Democritus, Dalton, Thomson, and then there's another page of notes, and that included Rutherford and Bohr. And then we also here had a worksheet that we stuck to the side called Great Combinations, where we were looking at molecules and their structure and then determining what they were. And that had 2 sides to it. So that should be on page 38 and 39. Then turning the page to page 40 and 41, we've got the Lewis dot worksheet and notes facing that on what Lewis dot structure was and how to determine and how to set up the Lewis dot, placing 1 on each side, going around in the same direction until all the valence electrons are accounted for. And then a couple of items that got glued in, or this item that got glued in, we had presentation on the periodic table families, and then just as a resource, the Lewis dot diagram on page 42. So it's 42 and 43. And this one should be colored in the rest of the way, but I did not finish my example. But yours should be finished as you sat through class. And then 44, a worksheet on counting atoms and formula. So analyzing how much sodium, how much hydrogen, how much carbon, how many elements would make up this molecule, picking it apart and determining by number. So counting and formula. And then we had notes that were given to you on reactants and products, and that would be on page 45. So that's just glued in. That's just something that was handed to you to put in the notebook. Then we had our lab on chemical reactions, the hot and cold packs that we did with the bags. This should go on page 46. And then the last thing is the worksheet on predicting bonds. And this would go on page 47. And that should get you completely updated. And then after testing is done, we'll jump right back into some of this stuff about atoms and chemicals, take a final, and then we have to do a little review, and we'll do our science testing. So that is it. Thank you for listening. I hope that this helps you get your notebook where it needs to be, and you can pick and choose what you need. Right, bye guys.